So guys, you have a hard time reading your gauges on your Road Glide or your Street Glide? Guys, my name is Rick and this is the HDVIBE channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to change out these stock gauges, which frankly, I have a really hard time reading these depending on how the sun's hitting them. And even when the sun is perfect, I can't hardly read the numbers on them or what gear I'm in and those sort of things. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to change those out and get those to be much more readable and still look like stock. And we'll get into it right after this. To get this project started, we first need to remove this instrument cluster cover. And right here and then on the other side, there's actually a T25 Torx screw that goes in here. And so I'm just going to loosen that up with my Torx bit. Alright, so now that I've got the instrument cluster loosened up, those two screws are removed, I need to get this horseshoe shaped cover off here. What I'm going to use is actually my right angle pick, and I'm going to get back underneath this little horseshoe, and there's just a little tab there, and if you push in on that very gently, you should be able to pop this little tab off, and that released it, and then carefully slide it out off to the side, and I've got that removed. Okay, so once you get that horseshoe removed, that'll allow this to come back out. And behind here, there's going to be three connections. One that controls the speedometer and tachometer, and that's right in the middle of this cluster. And then there's one over here and one over here for these power buttons. So you need to remove those to be able to get this cluster completely out. All right, so I've got this left side one off. They're just kind of the push-pull tabs, so I just pull that one off. And then to get this main one off, I'm going to use my screwdriver. There's a tab on the right and the left side of this connector. So I'm just going to kind of gently pry that off and get that off of the locking portion of this. And then gently pull that out. All right, so I've got that completely disconnected except for the one that I told you that's difficult. And that's the one here that's on the right side if you're looking at the bike. The actual push tab is way underneath this, so it's difficult to get it out. You probably could get it if you had a pick, but you can't get your fingers under there. So the other option is you just remove this entirely from this housing with these two screws here, which are actually T27. Those two screws out, and as you can see, here's the push buttons here that actually come in through here. So I just disconnected that. This is an auxiliary plug if you need power for other lights or those sort of things. So pretty easy to change that out if you want to do that. And then you can see you have that on the other side here. You would just remove those screws, and then you could replace these with actual working switches here for any accessories that you may have running on the bike. So now that we've got this instrument cluster panel completely free from the handlebar assembly there, now we're ready to remove this instrument cluster. Again, this is speedometer, tachometer, and there's three screws, one here, here, and here, and those are T27. So pretty simple. We're just going to loosen those up, and that'll release this instrument cluster off of this triple tree housing here. So carefully do that, and again, you're going to reuse these screws, so don't lose track of these. And we'll get this final one out here. And now that we've got all three of those screws out, we'll just pull the instrument cluster out. Now we have our speedometer, tachometer completely pulled out. We're ready to replace it with the replacement. All right, so from the stock gauges, I removed the decorative bezels. I just kind of pop those off, and then these kind of go just set into the back of this, and there's notches there so that they line up. And then you can see from the front you get that chrome bezel look again from this side. And then once you got those set, we're ready to go ahead and put our CVO style gauges in. And again, it's going to be very simple. Just line it up with the three screw holes there. And then we're going to put our bolts in. Okay, and I'm going to tighten up this final screw here. There you have it. New gauges are ready for reinstallation into this instrument cluster. I've gone ahead and tightened up the two screws that hold this right side fake buttons in with its power connection. So again, hand tighten those, don't over tighten them because you could just go into plastic. And then now I'm ready to really slide this into position. And while you're doing that, before you kind of get all the way down, obviously you want to plug in your speedometer, tachometer, and we'll plug in the left side accessory power port. And we've got everything, feels like it's lining up. So now we need to get this horseshoe cover back in here. So we'll kind of gently slide that in here while everything is still loose. And I got it snapped in there. Believe it's in there good. And when you hit the little sweet spot, I mean, that thing just slides right in there. So now I'm ready to put my two screws in from the side, the T27s. So I'll just hand tighten this side to get it started. We'll switch over to the other side here, get it started from this side. Make sure we're all lined up. These don't over tighten them because if we do, again, these are just going into plastic. You'll end up cracking this and be having to make a run to your Harley Davidson dealership. That completes the install of the speedometer, the tachometer. And the other thing to keep in mind is you do need to go between, I think, 30 and 35 miles before the BCM recognizes this new speedometer, that it's new to this bike. And then once you hit that 30 to 35 miles, this speedometer is married to this bike. So let's turn this on and see what we got here. So you can see much brighter. This looks just like the CVO gauges. My mileage, 10,000 to 30, pop back up just like that. Traction control is showing up. My rain mode is showing up. So I think we're good. So now we're ready to move on to these gauges up here. We're going to replace this fuel gauge and the voltmeter to look similar to this, and obviously that's going to involve taking off this front fairing, which I'm not going to show you that and bore you with that. You've probably seen that before if you have a Road Glide, but I'm going to go ahead and get that off, and then we'll get into taking those out and then replacing them with these much brighter, much better gauges. All right guys, so I've got the outer fairing off, as you can see. So now I need to remove this headlight assembly. I'll go ahead and remove the headlight bolts. These are, I think it's a 3/16 hex. And then I'm also going to push this through so that that is out of the way. Get these bottom ones. Pull this headlight out of here. All right, so now we'll need to remove these vents here on the side. A T25 here, and then there's one up in here that holds it. So you really can't see that. So I'll go ahead and remove those. And once you get both of those out, that allows you to remove this vent. So I'll just repeat that on the other side. All right, so there's 3 bolts that hold this gauge assembly together. There's 2 on top, and then there's one that you're gonna have to come up through here. So I've got a really long extension and a T25 screw that I need to take out. So first I'm gonna take this one out, going up through where those vents are, do that on both sides, and then I'll come back up here on the top and we'll get those 2 out up there. So I've gotten all 3 screws out of the gauge that's connecting it to the inner fairing. So now I just need to disconnect the wiring harness. I'm just going to pop that off, and then I'll be able to reach up inside here and then pull this actual gauge cluster out so that then we can replace it with the new CVO style. So now we've got the fuel gauge out. So we need to get it out of this housing. There's just some little tabs here, 1, 2, 3. So we need to gently release those so that this front chrome housing that's holding this to this complete housing here, we can release that. And then I believe that should then let this whole gauge come out of there. With my screwdriver, I'm just gently pushing these tabs down. Pop that out of its tabs, and then now that allows this fuel gauge to come out of that housing. So here's a replacement fuel gauge. So this will just go back into this black housing just like the other one was, like that. And then we'll slip the chrome cover on here and clamp that in, and we'll be set to go ahead and reinstall that on the bike. I've got the speedometer, the tachometer installed fully, and that's operating. And then now I've got the fuel gauge installed. So next, all I need to do is repeat the process I did on this fuel gauge, on the battery voltmeter, and then we'll have this project wrapped up. All right guys, so all of the gauges have been replaced with this CVO style, and I want to show you. So these are the gauges on the Road Glide Special now, and this is the gauges on the CVO Street Glide. So As you'll see, very similar. The only difference is down here, the Street Glide CVO says CVO. This does not. If you want to get these CVO style gauges to install on your bike, just like I did on the Road Glide Special, I will have the part numbers and links on the Harley Davidson website to these gauges. These are good, I believe, for 2014 and up on any of the FLH models. So that would be your Street Glides, your Ultras, your Road Glides, etc. So as you can see, plug and play, you do have to go about 31.1 miles, as my odometer showed on the B trip meter, before this marries to this VIN number and your ECU. So once that happens, all of your trip meters will then function as normal, but everything connected well. There's no issues. The mileage, my turn signals work well. Everything is as if it came stock like this. So guys, if you like this type of content, please give it a thumbs up. So consider sharing this with your friends so like-minded individuals will see this content as well. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. These are game changers. On these gauges, you can see them much better in the sun or at night. Just with that LED display, much better, much brighter. So leave some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you do go ahead and get these and install them, follow this step by step, and you will see exactly how to put these in. Give yourself some time. I would say, if I wasn't recording this, I would give myself about an hour from start to finish. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that button right down here. And when you do subscribe, leave a comment down below saying I subscribe so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon and select all so you do get notified every time I do put out new content. I now have over 200 videos on tips, tricks, rides, reviews, and installs on these Harley Davidson touring motorcycles, which I feature this 2021 Road Glide Special, the 2021 Street Glide CVO, and the 2023 Street Glide ST. And with that, guys, I'm going to leave you with this thought. Life is short. Get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.